first of all, how did you get involved in the business and what were you selling?
It was very accidental and I guess you would say very reluctant to be involved with it. I was running a successful business at the time already, a spray tanning company, and obviously you see people naked all the time.
Yeah.
I had a client who lost a dramatic amount of weight, and it was very easily led into that conversation of like, what are you doing? She told me, and I jumped on board the products, and next minute I was that person who had lost a lot of weight, and people were throwing money at me trying to ask me what I was using. So a very natural kind of organic accidental folding into it. Definitely wasn't looking for a business or I'm going to sign up to an MLM today. It was definitely none of that.
It just sounded like it was very organic and you thought, well, why not?
I definitely had experience with seeing people in MLMs in the past. So when I realized it was that type of business model, I wasn't just buying wholesale products off of this client that I had. I definitely said to her, I'm not interested in doing the business. Pretty much rack off and don't talk to me about it. But then after you have so many people begging you for products, it's really hard to say no to that.
And when did you realize that maybe it wasn't what you thought it was?
I would say it actually probably took a little while. There were some red flags along the way. Things like I was obviously starting to make money with it, and I would ask questions about, do I need to be putting money away for tax? How does this affect things? How should I be setting this up as a business structure? Do I need an ABN? Obviously with my business background. And they just were like, you don't need to worry about that. It's nothing. You don't need to worry about that. And I was like, well, I clearly do. So there was these little red flags along the way, little situations like that. But it wasn't actually until I was quite deep into the business where I was being flown all around the world to speak and everyone knows you and wants your autograph and to have photos with you. And at that point, even though you've got those little red flag moments popping up, it really takes a lot of, I guess, self-awareness to say. It looks very shiny from the outside, but inside it's kind of rotten.
Oh my gosh, it sounds like that TV show that Kirsten Dunst was in. What was it called? It was like
I'm not sure, but I remember seeing her dressed up very Florida. So I think I know the one you're talking about, but I haven't watched it.
I'll find it because it's because that TV show is based on multi-level marketing as well. So, and when you say MLM, you mean multi-level marketing. For those who don't know, what does that mean? And how does that structure work?
So multi-level marketing basically means, obviously you get paid in different ways. You can get paid from selling the products. So you've got a wholesale commission on getting paid for that. You can also register people under you as your team, and then you collect a wholesale percentage off whatever they sell. And then you also have royalty income bonuses and that. So I think that's what it means when they say multi-level, because you've got multiple teams under you. The idea is to build multiple levels of your team. However, it can also be called network marketing, direct selling. These days they will tell you it's just sharing an opportunity or it's affiliate marketing, whatever you want to say, whatever bow they want to wrap it up in. It's essentially multi-level marketing or network marketing.
And which they say or is different to pyramid schemes because they're illegal in Australia, pyramid schemes, but multi-level marketing essentially isn't, right?
Well, there's so many things that are illegal, but people still do them. They will find a lovely little loophole to be able to still do them. And we might not want to acknowledge it, but that's what happens. So for something to, I guess, not be seen as a legal pyramid scheme, you've got to be selling a product more than you are recruiting people to the business, which is very, very easy to make the data look like you're selling a lot of products. It's very easy to manipulate how that looks from the outside to say, don't worry, it's not a pyramid scheme. But the reality is to be successful in that company, to get to that top 1 or 2%, have that lifestyle and that money that people desire, you do have to focus heavily on recruiting people. So you can't really get to that level of success without slipping into that pyramid scheme definition.
It's 12 to 6 on ABC Radio South Australia in Broken Hill, and with you is Shona Gates, who's an author and business consultant, and she will feature tonight on SBS's Insight program. This week's looking at multi-level marketing schemes, and it's called Cult Following. Now, it's hard to get out once you're in, isn't it? Did you have people approach you questioning what you were doing or whether what you were doing is right? Because I know people who have got involved with them and you can't tell them what is right or wrong. What was it like to have that experience of being so deep and having people maybe question what you were doing, and maybe you knew that there was something questionable, but you couldn't get out?
I definitely knew in my soul something wasn't right, but the hard thing for me, actually, I think this would not be a hard thing for everyone else, this would be quite a wonderful thing. I have the most supportive family and the most supportive saint of a husband. So the people who were really close to me, the people who loved me, were just like, you do you, girl, you're doing amazing, you're crushing it, I fully support you, if you're happy, we're happy. which is great. But then it took me pretty much losing my entire friend circle and then almost staging an intervention. You start to realize you're not getting invited to anything anymore. Then they literally sat me around in my backyard and went, hey, what's going on? You're not the same person anymore. And I really had to say to them, look, I understand and I do feel that way underneath, but what am I meant to do? How am I meant to leave? This pays my mortgage, this pays for my kids' school fees, this puts food on the table. What would you like me to do? So it's quite tense and puts a lot of pressure on your relationships. And I think as they take you through it, it might not be intentional that they're like, we're going to break down this person until there's nothing left but a husk that we can mold. But through the gradual approach of what they do, that's what ends up happening. So you're completely isolated from all the family and friends who don't support you because you're told they're just haters, they're just jealous, cut them out of your life. You're completely isolated, you're completely alone, you're financially dependent, and then all your relationships now come from this business model as well. So it makes it really, really hard to be brave enough to step out and outside of that.
How did you get out?
I had a complete nervous breakdown, I think. No, actually, my body pretty much shut down. I had all those red flags going, something is ethically not right here, this isn't sitting right, I can't see myself flogging this product for the next 20 years. There's so much that just didn't sit right. And then my body pretty much completely shut down. I stopped having normal monthly cycles and things like that, which really was quite a red flag that the stress was overtaking things. And then I remember having one specific conversation with a mentor of mine, and I was explaining how we wanted to invest in property as well and diversify income streams. That's what, as a smart, intelligent person, you're meant to do, and that's what they advertised. Don't just rely on your 9 to 5. Do this as a side hustle too and have diversified income streams. I was talking about how I wanted to diversify, and she told me, no, you just need to focus on this one thing for the next 5 years. You just need to focus. Just stop everything else and focus on this. And that was that moment of like, you're directly going 180, directly opposite of what I was sold to be a part of this and why I decided to do this. And that's just...
Yeah, because once you start as just a little side, end up being your whole life.
And that was the kind of thing, it was like, I don't think you want me to grow and succeed unless it's succeeding and growing for you, that directly financially benefits you. So there was that little bit of clarity moment in that conversation. I came home and had to tell my husband, hey babe, you might have to go back to work, because I'd retired him by this point and we're going to basically financially screw ourselves, but I've got to leave this company. I cannot stay in it a second longer.
So you were making lots of money, but you just knew it was ethically wrong? I
think that's what it comes down to in the message I want to share. I think people, when they hear me speak about this, they're like, well, you're just bitter because it didn't work for you. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It worked for me very well. I was very successful, known all over the world. Would have had a very, very stable income for the rest of my life doing this. And I chose to walk away because I knew that it was not in alignment with my integrity. And it never would be.
Because that's the thing, when people like you former you, were promoted, they said, this is what your life can be like, right? But it's only the top 1%.
1% if you're lucky.
So what happens to everyone else?
Exactly. That 1% is there on the bones of everyone else subscribing to this dream and subscribing to it long enough where they purchase product long enough that 1% get to the top.
How long does that take?
I don't know. I moved pretty quickly, I'll be honest. I think I had such a dramatic personal result that I moved very, very quickly. Within about 6 months, it was free holidays and fly here and fly there, and about $4,000 or $5,000 a month, which back 6 years ago was more than a livable wage, certainly not the case today. It moved very, very quickly for me. I wouldn't say there's a definite timeline on it, but it can happen quickly or it can take 30 years.
And you've seen, and no doubt people have come up to you and told, like, what have you heard from other people that have been damaged by these multi-level marketing schemes? I think the reason I will keep speaking about it, even though it is controversial and I will cop so much hate every time I do an article or I do anything about it, I will keep sharing about it because of the hundreds of messages that come in from people who have either left and feel completely alone and hold so much shame about the fact it either didn't work for them or they did leave, or there's people in there who don't know how to get out and they're confused and stuck and they just need to hear someone else's story, know that it's possible to actually leave and have a good life and still be really successful and to make it on your own in your own way. So I just want to keep having the conversations, even though it does negative backfire quite often. If anyone's listening and they're thinking that maybe I'm in a multi-level marketing scheme, or they have family or friends who are maybe involved with them, what would your message be to them? Because I know they'd be pretty separate messages. They would definitely be separate messages. The first one is what I would want to say to myself early days 2015 would be like, turn your brain back on and critically think about this. Ignore the
the love bombing and almost that narcissistic gaslighting and super celebrating and there's no problems. Ignore all the toxic positivity and really look at this from a business perspective, from a ongoing support perspective, and is this actual product worth all the clout that you are giving it right now? So turning on that critical thinking and never let anyone kind of make you abandon yourself and your personality. If I was speaking to someone who has a family member, a friend, or someone they care about in a multi-level marketing right now, I would say hold space for them until they figure it out. Because the statistics show that people do. It has a 97% not failure rate, but I think people leaving rate. People will see through it. And the relationship that they're going to need the most on the other side of that is your unconditional love and support. You don't need to purchase the product. You don't need to join the business. You don't need to say, I'm super proud of you for everything you're doing. But you can love and support who they are underneath all the layers of that until they come out the other side. And then you've got to really try hard not to say, I told you so.
Shona, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, and I'm looking forward to seeing the episode tonight. Congratulations on the success that you've got now that you're out of that.
Thank you. I'm pretty proud.
Shona Gates, the author and business consultant from the Barossa, and she's on tonight's episode of Insight. It's on tonight at 8:30 on SBS or anytime on SBS On Demand, and the TV show that I mentioned on becoming a god in Central Florida. It features Kirsten Dunst, who gets into a multi-level marketing scheme. Let's just say it gets quite dark. It was on SBS On Demand, but it's now on 7+. You're on ABC Radio South Australia and Broken Hill. We'll find out what Jason Chong has got in store for you in a moment. Great, thanks so much. That's great.
Thank you. That was fun. That was good. Hopefully it made sense.
Oh,
you should just black out and then think about it later. Thank you.
See you later.
See ya.
Thanks for making the effort.
No worries. Bye.
Thanks so much for coming in.